Alright, you guys, so the objective going into today's match day was get 3 points, reduce the deficit against Real Madrid from 8 points to 5 points in the La Liga title race. And I'm happy to report that Barcelona have done just that. 3 goals from Lamine Yamal, Ferran Torres and Marcus Rashford was enough to see us over the line. But first, before we go in and talk about everything that we saw from the team today, I am just Max. And if this is your first time seeing my video or coming across my channel, or maybe you've been watching without subscribing, hey friend, hey guys, I talk football from the La Liga to the Prem to the UCL, and of course it's always going to be Vizca Barça for me on this channel. If that is something that you are interested in, please stick around, be my friend, be my homie, and let's dive into today's video. Because if you haven't been following the disaster that has been FC Barcelona's season, putting together a lineup for Hansi Flick is a head-scratching incident, because every single time we close our eyes and open it, an FC Barcelona player is injured. This week it is Pedri, who is now going to be out for 7 weeks. Is going to miss some very important games, including the ones against Chelsea in the upcoming Champions League, and of course Club Brugge this week. But let's look at the team that Hansi Flick put together. It was Wojtek Szczesny in goal, Koundé at right back, Araujo and Eric Garcia partnering in centre back. Finally, Pau Kubasi gets a rest, which I absolutely needed for him. Alejandro Balde continues in that left back position. The midfield was a little bit rejigged because, like I said, Pedri is injured. He's come to become known as a stalwart in Barcelona's midfield, but we had to do without him. And even if he wasn't injured, he did pick up a red card in the Clásico last week, so it meant we were not going to be able to see him anywho. So it was Frankie de Jong, Marc Casado and Fermin Lopez in that midfield position, and leading the line for Barcelona, it was Lamine Yamal, Ferran Torres and Marcus Rashford. And off the bat, I'm going to say this. Now, a lot of people will have mixed reactions as to this performance. I liked it. I'm gonna be honest and say this was the kind of reactionary bounce back performance from FC Barcelona that I needed from them. From the get-go, they had the right levels of intensity, they had the right energy, they showed Elche that they came to play business. It did help us a lot that Elche too are a football playing side. They're not a haram ball team, so they also were comfortable coming out. They believed in themselves, in their ability to stay on the ball and move things around. So it just kind of played into our hands and the kind of style that we like to play at Barcelona. So from the get-go, I lived for it. It was a very open game, each way you look at it. But what I loved the most is that our press was pressing in that first half. I saw the energy, I saw the recovery. For every time that Elche had the ball in that first half, I saw that Barcelona players 2-3 were on them and the ball was being recovered very quickly. This was something that I felt like we've been lacking, like that level of energy. We haven't had that, and maybe we did need that kick in the butt at the Clásico to just get it back together and get us back on track, because today in that first half I saw a lot of it. Even from the very beginning, Lamine Yamal, I think that this was one of the better performances we've seen from him this season. The first minute of play, he danced a little bit, turned Elche's defender around, found Frankie de Jong, who was in the striker's position ironically, and made a wonderful pass to Frankie de Jong, who I don't think that Frankie de Jong realized that he was onside, or maybe he didn't realize the amount of space and time that he had. And so he just scuffed it a little bit, he rushed his shot a little bit, and that could have been an opener for us right there. But that for me was like a very clear intent. It said to me that we came here to play and we wanted to win, and I live for it. That's kind of what we did not have last week. Last week it was more of a case of possession for the sake of having it, rather than possession for the sake of wanting to score. And this was the difference. Another thing that I saw in this game from Barcelona that I absolutely lived for is how punishing Barcelona were in that first half. Now, this is something that we haven't seen them do a lot, and something that they ended up not doing a lot more in the game. But in that first half, the first 2 goals from Barcelona was as a result of an Elche mistake, and Barcelona absolutely punished them for it. This is something that we saw from them last season. They were very good at it. If you snooze, you lose, that kind of vibe. And today we saw it, and I live for it. Like when you talk about the fact that Lamine Yamal's opener for Barcelona was through an Elche mistake. I think it was a slip, if I remember correctly. Balde pounces on the ball, drives into the heart of the Elche defense, squares the ball down to Lamine Yamal. It falls just slightly behind Lamine Yamal a little bit, but he then has enough time to redirect himself and then shift his body weight in a way that he's able to slot the shot well past Iñaki Peña, who, by the way, welcome back to the Montjuic, who is a former Barcelona player, of course. And it's so nice to see when Barcelona players come to play against. It's so nice to see them. He did have a good game for Elche, if I am to be honest. But again, that opener from Lamine Yamal, pouncing from a loose ball from Elche, was something that I really, really loved. I love that energy. I love the directness of it all. Balde driving to the heart of the defense and then finding the right pass in the right moment was something that I wanted to applaud them for. The second goal was much of the same, if I am being honest. An Elche defender slips, and again, it is Fermin Lopez this time, who, by the way, I should mention, he had a sensational game. He was wonderful in this match, by the way. He's one of my favorite players. If you watch any bit of my videos, you would know I love Fermin Lopez. Anywho, Fermin Lopez picks up a loose ball from Elche, I would say, and then, works a little bit the combination with Marcus Rashford. And then he goes out the way to the byline, puts a very, very good cross into the ball. And I would say the byline, but it's really into the edge of the box. Puts a very good cross into the squares it into the box. And guess who is at the edge of it? It is Ferran Torres. And of course, within the space of, I want to say, 5 minutes and under 15 minutes in the first half, Barcelona are already 2-0 up. It's wonderful. It's what you want to see from a Barcelona team, especially after that loss to Real Madrid last week in El Clásico. I was so happy with what I was seeing from the team. I was a little bit nervous with the tackles that were coming in for Frenkie de Jong, because again, he is the only one remaining in our pivot. He's Pedri is going to be out for 6 weeks. It was 7 weeks as of the start of last week, but now it's 6 weeks. He's done 1 week. So I couldn't afford for any kind of ill treatment of Frenkie de Jong that could result in a potential injury. So I'm going to be honest that's the tackles that were coming in on Frenkie de Jong kept me nervous all game long, because again, we do know that he has that chronic ankle injury that has bothered him for a number of games last season. But I'm so glad to see him now being back to his very best. And again, he had a good game in this game. Barcelona did end up conceding in this game. It was an unfortunate thing, and this is something that it does tend to happen. I would have loved, especially for us to have played this game, finished this game without conceding a goal. We haven't seen a clean sheet now since, I want to say, September, and now we're in November, obviously. But it's okay. We did end up conceding a goal, and this one I will put it down to Araujo and Szczesny. More on Szczesny and less on Araujo. Araujo, I felt like he could have done a little bit more to close down the defender a little bit. Yes, it does come from the Elche beating our high line. The pass comes from deep in the Elche half, and the player runs in from his own half, and Araujo is chasing down. I did feel like he could have done a little bit more in terms of chasing down the player, forced him out a little bit wide, and make him rethink a little bit of the things that he wanted to do. He didn't do that. I felt like he was a little bit too slow, maybe a tad slow in cutting back on the Elche defender, which gave the Elche defender a little bit more time to be able to think, do I want to square the ball to my man who is running through the middle, or do I want to go on my own and take a shot? And at which point Rafa Mir, who is the player on the ball, decides to take to bet on himself. He takes a very good shot, and he beats Szczesny. Now, where I blame a little bit more on Szczesny. I felt like Araujo had the near post covered a little bit with his body. If Rafa Mir had chosen to go through the near post, I felt like it would have hit Araujo and it would have been a block. So I felt like Szczesny could have redirected his body weight a little bit, maybe be a little bit central to give him the opportunity that if the ball were to be going on the farther end of the post, he could have been able to stretch a little bit more and maybe get a hand to it. He did not do that in this occasion, and the reason why I was a little bit frustrated with that goal, in my opinion, was it wasn't the most powerful shot. It was just a very well placed shot. It wasn't a powerful shot. So I felt like if Szczesny had got his positioning well on this occasion, I felt like we could have prevented that goal from going in. But one of the things that I loved following that, again, is the response from Barcelona. It's not a situation where we score a goal or we score 2 goals, then we end up conceding and then we end up becoming fragile, we get scared. No, none of that. I felt like today's game, they recovered very quickly. Conversations with the ref was had about their potential offside. It was not offside. but then the response from the team, the directness of it, or I think there was an opportunity where Fermin Lopez was again at the heart of things, driving at that Elche defense. He did a situation where he couldn't decide whether he wanted to pass or take, and then ended up taking the shot, and it was a weak shot, very easy for Iñaki Peña. But then there was another opportunity again that came up again. Fermin Lopez, driving at the heart of that Elche defense again. This time, I think it was just before halftime, he does offer to go to Lamine Yamal, who just cuts the shot wide. But I felt like that first half, with the chances that came in galore in quick succession immediately after Elche's goal, I felt like we could have gone into the half sitting with a 4-goal cushion if we had been a little bit more clinical. And this is the part where I talk about the things that I did not really like in the Barcelona game today, and it starts to show itself in the second half. And it's the fact that Barcelona were not clinical. They weren't punishing enough in the second half, in my opinion. I felt like there were opportunities. Elche gave us opportunities to run at their defense. They gave us very opportunity. So many times I found it a situation where it was 3-on-3, 3-on-2 defenders, so we could have very well had a scoreline that was greater than 3-1 if Barcelona were able to find that final ball, that final pass, or just do it very well. That's something I felt was lacking today. It's not necessarily that they had bad decision making, it's that some days you have that like tape ruler kind of pass, like you ask it to go one way and it just goes and finds the person. But then there's some days like today where it's just a little bit off, maybe a little bit too early, maybe a little bit too late, maybe a little bit too slow, maybe a little bit too off. That kind of things is kind of thing that plagued us in that second half, where I felt like we were just not crisp enough, in my opinion, for us to like just get it over the line. But I do want to take a moment and appreciate the goal that was Marcus Rashford's goal. But I think like a lot of it stems from, again, the assist, because if a lot of people wonder like, why do we talk a lot about assists, and everything that happens in football is all about the goals, but sometimes you see an assist that's just so beautiful, you just cannot help but appreciate the artistry behind the assist. And today it is that Fermin Lopez crossfield pass to Marcus Rashford, which I was like, oh my days, the audacity to be able to hit that, the technique, I should say rather, to be able to find him, very pinpoint, very wonderful. That is one of the few passes that we put in today in that second half that just did exactly what you needed it to do, which is to find the man in the right place at the right time in the opponent's box. And can we talk about the strike from Marcus Rashford, the audacity to hit it like that? It was very powerful. There was no way Iñaki Peña was ever going to get near it. It was a very, very beautiful strike. The beautiful assist, the beautiful strike, everything about that goal, I love it. For me, I was watching that game and that goal going, and I said to myself, oh my days, that makes it 2 assists for Fermin Lopez in this game alone. And he's been one of the few bright spots in our season. He's been sensational. He scored, I think he had a hat-trick in the last time we were in the Champions League. He did have a goal contribution, a goal in the El Clásico last week, and of course now he's had 2 goals in this game, 2 goal assists in this game alone. So he's been on fire, and the more he continues to burn the way he's going, Dani Olmo might need to get comfortable sitting on the bench, because Fermin Lopez is currently shining. He's currently on fire for Barcelona, and I live for it. But Marcus Rashford too, oh wow, what a strike. What a strike. In any case, it does end 3-1 to Barcelona. That second half, Elche did end up getting opportunities on themselves. I think there were 2 opportunities where they hit the woodwork themselves. So it really could have been a 3-2 ending if it had gone in their way. Or better still, if Barcelona had, had more of a good passing situation, or Elche converted any of the chances that they had, because again they did have chances galore themselves. It could have been a greater scoreline that we did, but ultimately, like I mentioned, like I started this video, the objective today was to get 3 points, to cut down that deficit on Real Madrid, who won their game yesterday against Valencia and opened up an 8-point gap on Barcelona today. We have successfully cut it down to 5 points, which is what we wanted to do going into today's match day. Day, and we're going to continue hunting down Real Madrid, putting that pressure on them, making sure that they have to be perfect if they want to win La Liga this season. It's in their hands to win at this point, it's in their hands to lose at this point, but we have to continue to do our part of like continue to put that constant pressure on them, which we've done today. We're going to take it one game at a time, pinpointing the back today, and we're going to now turn our focus to Club Brugge, who will play in midweek in the UEFA Champions League. But that has been it from me from this game. Let me know what you thought about this game in the comment section. Who excited you the most? What you thought about this game? Was it a good comeback for you after a Clásico? Let me know all of this and more in the comment section. But until next time, bye guys.